Hey, I am Mustafa Sharif. Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I'm looking forward to this episode. Super interesting topic and super interesting guest. We're going to talk about smart cities, smart farming, and if it is possible that the smart farming can be 100% sustainable. I have the pleasure to welcome Kerry Babb to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Hey, hi, Mustafa. Hey, thank you for inviting me to this very illustrious podcast. Happy to be here.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. Well, we thought the pandemic was over, but it's making a second round, so we just have to tighten our belts and do what we need to do. So I'm okay. And yourself?
I am fine here in Sweden. We are not so much about staying at home, but I'm trying to keep at home and
Mm,
follow the recommendations. But hopefully everyone is safe here.
yeah, well, that's the best we can do.
And you're at home in the
In
US?
New York. And yeah, I'm at home in the US. Yes, I've been at home in the US, and that's got some good rest, so that's okay. But I still got a lot of work done, though. Maybe more work than I would usually get done, so it's good.
Yeah. And did it work like with all the working from home and digitally, this digital shift?
Yes, it did work because I normally would work from home, except if I have to travel somewhere to be on site or a conference or something like that. That's the only thing I would travel for or go to a meeting elsewhere. But I normally work from home, so it was like business as usual for me.
So, Kerry, you are our storyteller for this episode. How would you like to introduce yourself and please tell us what are you passionate about?
Okay, well, Kerry Babb, all rounder. I do many different things. Based on my training and experiences, I have several balls in the air at the same time. My passion is the environment, the place, this planet Earth that we live in. Want to ensure that we have it for billions more years. Things are not looking so rosy. So my passion now is to help to fix things, to raise an awareness as to what our challenges are, and come up with feasible solutions to the challenges. That's my challenge. That's my passion.
Yeah. And Kerry, when did everything started that this passion? Any?
Well, I think I had it, almost from birth, but my realization that this is where I need to go happened like about 9 or 10 years ago. Um, all by volunteering on an environmental mission. I got bitten by the bug, and then one of my good friends, invited me to all the sustainability conferences in South Florida, and there I met a whole lot of different sustainability consultants and engaged in conversations with them, even joined them on some projects because as a project manager, everybody needs one. And I just couldn't go back. I used to be an IT consultant. After that, I just couldn't go back to doing just IT. So um, I became a sustainability consultant. Then I went to school and got my master's in it. And so now I'm credible and I'm certified. Um, and now I'm able to marry both my technology background and my sustainability background. Um, in solving city problems, using smart city technologies or just using um, my IT background, which involves 360 degrees thinking in terms of problem solving. And that has been very, very valuable in this space as well.
Very, very interesting background, very interesting journey. So, how do you define a smart city?
Wow, that's the $1 million question. Smart, I don't know. um, you know, uh, a definition of a smart city. Um, first I'd like to define what in my terms what a city is, and to me, a city, the most important and salient aspect of a city are the people and the citizens. And whatever we try to do to make it smart, quote unquote, has to reflect their needs, their wishes, and again, every city has its culture, it has its own secret sauce, it has what makes it unique. So there are some cities around the world that are already smart. They're already doing things in the best way. And, touching them would just spoil things. Yes, and there are lots of cities that need a whole lot of stuff done to remove their carbon emissions, to improve their air quality, to improve the efficiency in their buildings, and all those things. So, yes, in terms of a smart city, the definition comes on a wide spectrum. But for those cities that need to redo and reshape how they're living today, how their citizens live today, yet they need to get into fixing their emission controls, their energy efficiency, their building efficiencies, their roads and waterways and that stuff. So in terms of those cities, a smart city is one that would enable new technologies without damaging the ecosystems of the city, and where people could continue to live, play, educate themselves, entertain themselves, and just be happy. Clean air, clean water, vibrant plants, and lots of good, healthy food.
Yeah. So basically, your idea about smart city is that technology for people and not people for technology.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, and that's a challenge these days as well because you know I was listening to another friend of ours on a podcast the other day, and she had it right where our leaders are very, very critical today going forward. We need leaders who would lead not just for the next election, not just as a crowd pleaser, yes, because we need to please the voting public, but leaders who has a vision and a vision that is for the people and for the benefit of the world. Yes, that's a critical aspect in developing smart cities, planning and technologies, and employing technologies as well.
Yeah. So we have the technology, we have everything, but we still need the mindset, the leadership to take us to the next step, right?
Right, absolutely, and we need the leadership one, and the transparency and authenticity of the technology providers as well. It doesn't serve anybody beneficially to just implant technology on a city whether they need it or not, and then one, it's either not used, or two, it damages the ecosystems. So yes, you're absolutely correct. The leadership, but also, we need the diligence of the technology providers in terms of what they're offering and how they make their proposals.
Yeah. Talking about technology, we were talking before this episode about the smart farming. Are we talking about the vertical farming that is a smart farming, or the traditional farming that is being smart and sustainable?
Well, they all have aspects of smart. The urban vertical farming is also very critical to a city, because there are lots of synergies around them that would bring about a circular solution for providing healthy food with a very short carbon footprint for transportation, short or almost none. But then there's also the space, the peri-urban or the rural agriculture, which also needs to be done, and in a smart fashion as well, to provide a lot more food maybe for the extended communities, the city that surrounds it, and even a country in some cases. So yeah, urban vertical farming, there's a place. And we have a very interesting and visionary group that we recently, we had pitched a smart agricultural project to a city in Sweden. Um, we were intending to align with their smart cities initiative, but it turned out that what we really needed to pitch was a more compact and a more, what I should say, city-oriented solution for their smart cities initiative. And we did come up with one. And this one, I mean, it's amazing. This one, you can use in any city across the world. Some countries could use it as well, but it's an urban type farming, whether with most likely vertical, but it's circular in everything it does. So nothing gets wasted. It's zero waste, carbon neutral, no carbon footprint, and that type of thing, if it's done correctly. So yes, urban farming is very critical as well to feed the immediate cities, and rural farming for the extended communities and even as far as the country. And there are ways to do all of them in a smart fashion.
Are we talking about indoor farming or outdoor?
Well, in some countries, the farming would have to be indoors, like Sweden, and others, Scandinavian and other countries, it would have to be outdoors. It would have to be indoors in order to maximize yield and also control the nutritional value and quality of the food. There is also a place for outdoor farming that you can use smart technology in outdoor farming to reduce the need for pesticides and other soil deteriorating entities. So yeah, indoors as well as outdoors can be done smart.
But Kerry, tell me, is it really sustainable? Like, can it be sustainable?
Oh yes, it is. I mean, actually, if for instance, if somebody in Sweden, northern Sweden, if a farm in northern Sweden can grow oranges, avocados, even mangoes, and have it available 365 days a year, of course, that's sustainable, and that's what the new technology, this new smart technologies bring forth today. I know Sweden in itself is on a track to become a consumer of mainly organic fruits and vegetables, and this is one way to do it, where you would have it available 365 days a year, regardless of the climate, the weather, and even other geographical conditions.
Yeah, it sounds very promising, and I wanted to ask you, we have some vertical farms here in Stockholm, but they are not really providing the community with the needed food. So the type of farming we are talking about, is it really going to make us sustainable? Because in self-sustainable when it comes to food, because here in Sweden we import more than 70% of our daily food from the other countries. And now in the COVID-19 and the border were closed, so we have so many issues. So is this type of farming going to solve our problem, or at least helps?
Well, looking at it from, we have some plans on the board that will solve the problems of any country. For Sweden, one of the plans we have is, one city as a headquarters. But yes, we also recommend the urban hubs. But then, peri-urban, just outside the cities, if you have like, 20, 30 hectares of fruits and vegetables, and then have clusters of those peri-urban farms across the country, you'll definitely be able to feed your country, because each node in the cluster can provide different types of food and different, for different regions, or different types of diets as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what are the stakeholders that need it in order to run this farming?
Well, again, we go back to the leadership. It would be great if the leadership is involved. If we're approaching cities to do urban farming or peri-urban or suburban farming, we would need the municipalities and stuff to get involved in public-private partnerships. most times the private entities bring all the funding to the project, but they would need the approvals and the guidance from the local governments or that type of thing. Um, so that's one stakeholder that's critical. Um, Now the private entities will need to do their pre-feasibility studies and to ensure that what they bring to the table is what's needed for the people, is what is going to be consumed, um, and 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 that, so that's another stakeholder. Then there are big businesses within the countries or the communities or the municipalities that we operate in, that they would need to also step up and said, yes, we're going to buy all the stuff that you grow. That gives the farmers a ready market for their products. So yeah, there are different stakeholders that need to come to the table and play their part. Mhm.
Okay, so there is a kind of need of co-funding this kind of project, instead of just one part taking everything.
That's the ideal situation. Sometimes it doesn't come about because there are some countries that can't afford, the governments can't afford to provide funding. So we have to have like the private entities, fund the entire project, but blessed by the governments. So yes, if you have different entities funding it, that's the ideal situation. But in the case that they can, the private entities would need to come up and step up and fund these projects.
But now we are talking about the leadership. Uh, from what you see now, do you see that cities are open to have this kind of smart farming within the city or close to around the city? Are we having this mindset?
Well, I'll tell you what, COVID-19 did open a whole lot of eyes. But what I see is still a lot of rhetoric, a lot of people talking and they're repeating, they're regurgitating what they hear other people say. And when they are approached, to step up to the table, they hesitate because they're concerned that they may make a wrong decision and wouldn't get elected the next the next election. So we still see that, and everybody, within a crisis or just after a crisis, everybody is enthusiastic about fixing this and fixing that and becoming resilient and stuff like that. But when the memories of that crisis go away, it's business as usual. But this time it has to stop. This time we have to go forward with the solutions that are planned. Plan them well. That's my full recommendation. Plan them well, because this might be the last chance we get to do it right. And do execute and be diligent and execute and do what's planned for the resilience, especially the food resilience of our city or our country, because that's the basic health requirement for citizens. No health, no citizens, no city or no country. So we have to pay attention to that aspect of sustainability, so to speak.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
you know, here or everywhere we do a lot of reflection. Everyone is reflecting, oh, COVID-19 is teaching this lesson to us and so on. But for me, I think it's enough of reflecting. We need really to take action.
Well, yes, you are absolutely right. And as a result of that, based on just the first smart circular farming project that we designed, just based on that, we have been approached by several different people to look at and innovate for them, because again, each country, each city has a different challenge, so the solutions will be different. Um, and as you know, our plans for Sweden are to do, one, to have a proof of concept, and then do a cluster around Sweden. But then, we have opportunities to do the same thing in the Caribbean. Then we're looking at Africa, some African countries, and new on the table is Canada. So let's see. Everybody is saying, yes, we need it, with their hands in the air. But we will put our plans on the table and see who follows through.
Yeah. What are the challenges that you're facing now when you put your plan on tables and trying to convince cities that this is the future in order to get more sustainable?
Well, yeah, as of today, everybody's enthusiastic because of COVID-19. But when the time comes to act, what the challenges we are facing now is that everybody has something more important to do. And they approach, these solutions slowly, and they probably get a last look. So, when it's their turn to do a task, it takes a longer time than with us because we are enthusiastic to get things rolling. But some of the stakeholders are too busy otherwise. Whatever they're doing. I don't. I'm not one to judge people's priorities, but that's one of the challenges we're finding. We present, they like it, and then it stops there. And we have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing for them to act, to move the ball, one more yard. Yeah.
Do you think it's because of the financing or because of they think it's too much of technology that they don't understand?
But you hit the nail on the head. A lot of the times it's that they just don't understand. They don't get the full impact of what um, a sustainable circular farming hub could bring to a region, to a country, to a city. They don't feel the impact, so it's not important, not that important to them, because as some people said, they're eating now. They're still eating every day. They have a meal on their table, so it's okay. It's not a crisis for them yet. And this is a problem. This is a problem we normally have, where we seem to only react when there's a crisis and not be proactive before the crisis comes, so that you can become more resilient if it does hit. But yeah, so that's one of the biggest challenges that we have.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mhm.
also back to the point in the beginning we talked about, being a smart city is not only about technology, it's about the mindset of being smart and thinking few steps.
Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. Mm.
So now you're living in New York, right?
Yes. Mhm.
How do you find it? Do you find it's a smart city or it's on the way to be a smart city? How do you experience it?
Well, New York is a unique animal, but what I must say is that even previous leadership in New York were very diligent and proactive about planning a smart a smart recovery from a disaster they had called Sandy, Superstorm Sandy. And they did comprehensive sustainability plans throughout the city. Very few got implemented, but it's still on the table. Um, and you will see areas where they're trying to plant technology to, I hate using this word, but to appear smart. But um, but they're still solving the problems in silos. And even though they have a plan, yes, with the plan you would have specific projects coming out of each plan, um, for specific segments of the plan. But if you don't um, roll them out in an integrated fashion, then you lose a lot of the benefits of each project in terms of even data, in terms of monetary benefits. It would cost a lot less to do it in an integrated fashion. So to answer your question, New York has a very comprehensive plan, but their implementation is a bit flawed.
Yeah. And Gary, with all what is happening in the world, your experience, do you do you feel that the future is promising, the new normal is promising?
Well, what I like about the new normal is that it makes us think. Um, Before we were just business as usual, and everything was going okay, and again everybody was eating and doing what they normally do. But now we have to think a way forward, and in thinking a way forward, we also need to impress upon each other that we need to think about the best way forward, because, as I said before, this is our last opportunity to do it right. you know After this, who knows? You know, I don't know the impact that most things would have. But we see where it was going even before COVID-19, with emissions out of control, and you know um, soil deterioration, globally, and that type of thing, and climate disasters, and not enough resilience built in, and that kind of stuff. So now we know we have an opportunity to rebuild. We need to rebuild the best way forward.
Yeah. So
And I must say, a lot of the young technocrats and techies and entrepreneurs and stuff, they get it. So that's why I'm very optimistic about that in that space. They get it, and they're making demands that we do it right. So yeah, that keeps me optimistic.
yeah. So now or never, right?
It's now or never. I mean, yeah, that's the message. It's now or never,
Yeah.
because we
Well,
wouldn't get a second chance to do it over. So we might
no.
as well do it right.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, Gary, it was very inspiring to have this conversation. Thank you so much again.
Well, Mustafa, thank you for having me. It's always a joy chatting with you, and sharing my views, and hearing yours. So thank you again.
My pleasure. So how would you like to summarize what we talked about, your reflections and three takeaway messages to all the listeners that are listening to you?
Well, my reflections are, as I said, um, we have a real good opportunity now to become a sustainable planet, because things have broken down enough for us to rebuild in a sustainable way, and we should take that opportunity. Um, my three takeaways are optimism, again, looking at the young millennials, or whatever we call them, optimism on their part. Um, Another takeaway is, stakeholders need to become stakeholders and pull their weight to do their part, and ensure that projects go to fruition in the right ways, right? And my third takeaway is that this is a challenge for everyone. Nobody's excluded from doing things to make this a better globe.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your powerful takeaway messages. And so what is going to be the next step for you, apart from working from home?
Well, working from home, I've started to enjoy it, yeah. But I'm enjoying it too much. Yeah. The next step is, as I said, we have some projects on the drawing board, and every single day, I collaborate with more people who has more things to do, and I just, I just want to be as much a part of each project, and do my best, to make things better. Um, yeah, we have projects in Europe, and United States, and Canada, and I would like to become more involved and see the Caribbean and Africa come up to scratch and come up to standard, and in their resilience, and improving their qualities of life.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yes. I wish you all the good luck with all the projects that you're working with or will work with.
I hope so. Thanks.
And thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. Please follow on Instagram and subscribe the YouTube channel. Please, if you have a great story, please contact me. Sorry. If you have any great story that make our city smarter, please contact me. Urbanistica has been produced in collaboration with Landskapslaget, that working with landscape architecture, urban planning and design based in Stockholm. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.